Hey guys, it's me, Blahaj. Today I'm going to be reconstructing my 2167 Hong Kong record FMC mean with 20 NR single that I got yesterday at FMC Cheltenham Winter 2026 on Valentine's Day, because that is the best day to be doing FMC. These are 40th and 80th in the world respectively, which are pretty good. So yeah, here are the solves. This is the first scramble, which I got a 21 on. It had 4, 6, and 2 bad edges on FB, LR, and UD respectively. So there were quite a few short EOs and RZPs, but there weren't actually that many good DRs. The EO I used was on normal, and it was 4 moves on FB. So the bad edges are here, 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 and here. So you can do D2 to bring this to the front, and then LRF to solve EO. Oh yeah, the moves I'm doing won't be on screen because that's too much effort, but they will be in a Google Docs in the description, so please read it. Anyways, after that I switched to the inverse, where you can do D, so you get DR minus 4C4E on LR. But this case isn't that good, so I switched back to normal, where after EO you have this pair here, and this kind of thing, which you can pair with the pair if you invert the last move of EO. And then you can do U2 to bring this corner down here to form this pair. And then with the E edge here, you can do L, B2, R, and then D. So you get DR in 10 moves. This is a 2C4 2E. So after this, I switched back to the inverse, where if you do D, two corners, the two good corners in this case, because this is 6C4, are both on the right side, and if you do L here, you do get 2C3, and this is 4E, and actually if you do L prime here, you can do F2 to set up this really nice case with the 2 squares, as it gives HCR in 6 with a couple of variations. And then you can do R prime to get 4B2 4E, then D2, which is the variation I use to set up the 4B2 4E trigger, then R, F2, D2, R to solve HTR. And after this, this is just F2, B2 away from an M slice. So this is plus 10 from DR to get slice, so 20 moves, which is pretty crazy for a 2C4. But unfortunately, even with 4 QTs, there is no plus 0. So to solve this slice, back to when we had 4B2 4E, you widen the first move of the trigger, and then F2, D2, R, and then insert an M move here, and then you can get solved in 21. Going back to the DR, if you switch after the first move to get to 2C3 4E, back to normal, you get this case, which is the 5 move trigger. So if you do R prime here and then D2 and then the trigger, you get this case, which is just 4 moves away from slice. Here D2, F2, D2, F2, and then this cancels with the other side. So you have another plus 10 to slice, and this also doesn't have plus 0 because why would it? But like, still, 2 plus 10s to slices on a 2C4 is pretty crazy. Back to DR again, this time on inverse before you've done any moves. If you do U2 here, which doesn't change the parity, and then L prime to get this, the same case, 2, 3, 3, 4E, and you do F2, then this time R prime, and then U2, and then L, B2, D2, L, or L prime. You get this, which is again 2 moves to slice, so U2, R2. So this is a 21 to slice on the same DR. I don't know if this has plus 0 because I already had a 21, so I didn't need to check this. But yeah, this is quite a funny 2C4. This is also the exact same solution that Fabio found on the scramble, so yay. So yeah, 21 on the first one. This is the second scramble. There were 4, 6, and 2 bad edges on this one, and I got a 24, which is but like it's fine. So the EO I used was on inverse on FB. So the bad edges are here, 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 and here. So if you B prime, you get 4 bad edges with this case, which is 3 more moves. So U, L2, then F for EO. This is in JZP, and it's DR minus 6C4E, which is like basically 2C4E because we're in JZP. So if you invert the last move of EO, you get this 6 move trigger. So you can do R to set up 4C2E, and then D2, F2, and then R prime D2 R to solve this DR, which is again 2C4, 2E, and 10 moves. So after this, I switched to normal, where you can do F2 to put the 2 bad corners on the same layer, and then D prime to get 2C3, 2E, and then B2, R2 to set up the 5 move trigger, and then it was U prime, and then F2, and then U, F2, U to get HTR. So the corners are actually all solved here. And because I have JZP on LR on the other side, I'm looking to get a double slice on E and M. So there are only actually 2 edges swapped on S right now. So if we invert back to the 4B2 4E, we can actually solve those 2. If we, instead of the 3 move trigger, we do a +2 extension where we do U prime, then B2, and then in this case B2, D2, B2, U prime, and then here you get a 3 cycle on E and M in 21 moves. So surely with 4 QT and 3 QT on the other side, this won't be too many moves to solve double slice, but that's wrong because we get +1 on the 4 QT slice. So if we go back to the last half turn before the last QT, instead of D2, B2, U prime, we can do U prime, D prime to set this up to solve the E slice, and then L2, D prime to solve the E slice. And on the other side, so we're looking at this from the inverse with 3 QT. Surely this will be pretty good. No, it won't be. +2 is optimal here. So instead of R prime U2 R to solve to do the last 3 moves, you do L R2 to line this up, and then F2 R2 L prime. So we got +2 on the +1 on the normal slice and +2 on the other slice, which is unfortunate. But yeah, that's +3 for 24. The DR was actually 23 optimal, but the solutions that use HTR have 2 half turns before the first QT, so they were going to be tough to find anyways. But there was another DR I had that could have had a 23. So on the LR axis, on normal, the bad edges were here, 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 and here. So because 2 of them are on here, you can do L to get a different 4 bad case. And on the inverse, 3 of the bad edges will already be on L after you do the L on normal, and the other one is just here. So you can do U prime L to get a 3 move EO. And after that, if you go back to normal, you can do F to get DR minus 4C4E on UD. And then this case would actually be really, really nice if the E edges were in a different position, because you can do F prime instead of F, and then L2 to set up the 2 columns. But if you just do that, the bad E edges are here, so Yeah, unfortunate. So instead of inverting the last move, I did U prime D. So when you do R2 here to bring this corner up to form a column, the E edges are going to be in the perfect spot to finish this DR. From here, you can do F2 to form the last column, and then D prime B to get DR in 10 moves. And this is, again, 2C4, 2E. So from here, I checked this DR a bit, but I didn't find the optimal, which was 23, and actually pretty straightforward, so I maybe should have found that. So on inverse, you can do F2 to line up the two good corners on D. So, and then you can do U to get 2C3, 4E. And then back on normal, this is set up to the two squares thing. So if you do U and then R2, and then U prime, B2, R2, U to solve HTR, you get this case where you can do F2, and then L2, U2, F2, R2 to solve slice in 23, because this cancels with the other side, and this is +0, so that would have given me a 23 on this scramble. But it's okay. The scramble had a lot to check, and we were like, well, this was the 5th attempt of the day, so I'm blaming that. Totally not copium. There was a 20, which you had to do +2 moves from a 3-move EO to get a 5 RZP. So that was... I wasn't checking that kind of thing, unfortunately. And yeah, Fabio did get a 21 from a cool DR, and there were a couple of 22s, so maybe I should have found that, but 24 is still fine, considering the final result. This is the last scramble. The scramble had 6, 4, and 4 bad edges, and I got a 20, which is tied NR single. The EO I did was a NIS EO. So starting from the inverse, on FB, the bad edges are here, 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 and here. So there's 1 bad edge on B. So if you do B, you get 8 bad edges. And after that, if you switch, the good edges are here, 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 and here. So you can do D to get all the bad edges on the S axis, and then FB to solve EO. This is a cool EO by my standards, because I don't normally see things like that, so I checked this pretty early in the attempt. And on normal, you can do D after the EO to get DR minus 2C3 on LR, with a couple of variations, because if you invert the first D move, you also get this. So after that, went back onto the inverse, where you had this already like almost built to trigger, just 1 move away, so R prime. And then after that, if you do the trigger, you get a 9-move DR, but unfortunately this is 4B5, which is bad. So you can do a 1-move extension here before you do the trigger. If you do F2 and then you do the trigger, you get in 10 moves 4A1 4E. So at this point I was very excited, because I knew I needed a 21 to get NR, so I only need this to be 11 moves optimal or less, and this was like 10 minutes into the attempt. And I saw this is a pretty good HTR case. You can do U2 and then F2, B2, L to get HTR in 14. So I tried this immediately, and you get this fake blocky fish kind of thing, which is still a pretty good case. So you can do U2 and then B2, L2, F2, R2 to get slice in 19. And we have 1 QT and 2 half turns. So if we go back to this, if we insert an M2 when we had the L move, you do U2, B2, and then L2, F2, and then widen this R2, you get solved in 20. I found this like 15 to 20 minutes in, so I knew I tied NR single again, and I beat NR mean and got sub 22, so I was very excited. And then I kind of relaxed a bit for the rest of the attempts. I still had a lot to check, but I didn't go through it as quickly as I probably should have, but there wasn't actually much I missed. There was a 19, but it wasn't from something I checked anyways. You had to switch a 3-move EO and then do +2 RZP. So I'm very happy with this. With a couple of variations on this DR, there were actually a couple of other things which were pretty good from here. So for example, if you widen the F2 move that we added on inverse, so you do B2 U R prime U to get DR, and you also invert the D move on normal, so you do D prime FB D, you get this, which has a couple of HTRs in 14, one of them being F2 D2 F2 L, which after HTR, if you do R2 D2, you get 2E 2E in 16, but yeah, there isn't anything better than 20 from this. 20 is optimal from my EO both variation, so that was cool. So yeah, so double NR tied for single the third time would have been my fourth if I had like 1 extra minute for one of my attempts in round 1, but it's okay. And breaking the tie for 22 flat for mean, so that's pretty cool. This also brings me to 10 NRs, which is very cool. Hopefully I will get more in the future and I'm not completely washed. I also didn't DNF any of my solves in both of the rounds, so I got the very exclusive, very rare I survived FMC Cheltenham with no DNFs badge, which I definitely don't have an excess of. Why is this one got a spring on it? I don't know. But yeah. Fabio also got a UK NR mean with 21-21-20 for 2067, so that's very cool. Congrats to Fabio on that. And won the comp. I got second, so yay. And yeah, I guess I'll see you when I tie the mean again or something. I don't know. Yeah, cool. Goodbye.